This poet was blind, but he defeated an entire army. How? What words could be so powerful? King Zafar declared one day in his court, "No one can defeat me, not even a god with words." His voice echoed through the hall. The courtiers nodded in fear, but a blind poet, with his frail frame and calm smile, stepped forward. The king's eyes narrowed. "What is it, blind man? Do you think you can challenge my strength?" The poet responded softly, "Your Majesty, words are more powerful than you think. They have ended wars, changed empires, and won hearts." Zafar burst into laughter. "Words? What could you possibly do with them?" The poet bowed slightly. "Let me show you, Your Majesty. Give me a chance to speak to your royal army. If my words can stop them from marching, I will have proven my point." The king, intrigued, leaned forward on his throne. "And if you fail?" The poet answered without hesitation, "Then you can execute me on the spot." Zafar smiled cruelly. "Very well, I love a good challenge. Let's see what your fragile words can do." He ordered his general to gather the army in the courtyard. The soldiers stood ready in perfect formation, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. "March forward," the king commanded, looking at the poet with a smirk. But the poet calmly raised his voice, addressing the soldiers. "Before you march, think of the battles you've fought, the bloodshed, the cries of the dying, the villages left in ashes." His words seemed to sink into their hearts. "What has war brought you? Glory or nightmares?" The soldiers hesitated, their eyes flickering with doubt. The king, growing impatient, yelled, "Do not listen to this fool! March!" But the poet continued, unfazed. "You march to kill for a man who sits safely on a throne. You sacrifice your lives, your families, and for what? Look at the faces of your children in your mind. Picture them asking you why you fight." The soldiers' hands gripped their swords less tightly now, their gazes turning to the ground. The general shouted, "Move forward!" But no one did. King Zafar rose from his throne, his face turning red with anger. "What are you doing? March!" But the poet's words had already planted fear and sorrow deep within the soldiers' hearts. They couldn't lift their feet to move. Pause here and comment what you think happens next. When the poet finished speaking, the entire army stood frozen, unable to march. The king's power had been undone by a blind man's words. Zafar clenched his fists, his arrogance shattered. He had been defeated not by swords or strategy, but by simple, powerful words. The king stared in disbelief. His greatest weapon, his army, had been brought to a standstill by a blind poet. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments below.